Well, better late than never, am I right? So, yeah, what's up, guys? Guardian here. Coming, guys, with a Zekro file on my Rezael deck. Would have liked to have profiled this a few months ago, but of course, I had a few delays to deal with. So, we are here now. Rezael is here, and I've been having a really good time with this deck. It's been really fun, which I'm glad because I waited long enough. So, yeah. So, without further ado, we'll get stuck into the deck. Did want to showcase the sleeves off though. We do have a Akine here for the main deck, and I have got the Rezael sleeves for the ride deck. So yeah, we've got that drip, so we are rocking pretty nicely with this deck. And yeah, let's get into the ride deck first. So first of all, the only card in here that I really need to talk about is Ventesta, because I know that a lot of Rezael decks like to play the Tranquilla grade 1, which is definitely really good, and I actually would recommend trying it out. But I tried it out, and I don't know. It's like it's fine because it technically digs you further into the deck to get to your Saragon for the early game. Because the faster you see the dog, basically, the better. But it's like with Ventesta, I found the extra 2k power that it gets being a 10k grade 1. Yeah, I feel like you get a bit more mileage out of it just because it makes making your columns a bit easier for those magic numbers. And yeah, I just personally prefer the Ventesta over the Tranquilla, but I feel like depending on which one you feel more comfortable with, go for that one because I feel like it might perform a bit better for you. But I think in the long run, Tranquilla probably would be the most optimal choice because it does get you towards your Saragon, which you definitely need to see. But when it doesn't go off, if you don't have the 3 different grades to reveal for it, it doesn't do anything, and it kind of sucks. So yeah, yeah. So I do feel like the Ventesta it just feels nicer for that 10k, to make those columns a bit better. And then outside of that, we have Ascensio, which when you ride Rezael on top of him, you get to resurrect a grid to or lower from your drop, which is pretty nice. So you can get some pretty nice board presence from him and just some more pluses because you could call dog from him as well, of course. And yeah, Rezael, we'll go into him with the main deck here because we do have the 3 extra copies of Rezael. So of course, Persona Riding, and of course with him, when he attacks, you counterblast and you call 2 different units from your drop with different grades on them, which is why the Ventesta works pretty well because it is a grade 1 that you can call. That's a 10k attacker, and then you can call say like a grade 2 with it. So pretty nice, and it makes the 5 attacks a bit easier that you can do in this deck since you go Ria, swing Reversiel, then call 2 units from your drop, and then get the 4th and the 5th attack out. Of course, with the Divine skill, it's an act, so you have to do it during your main phase to Soul Blast 1, and then you put all of your critical triggers from your drop back into your deck. And then until the end of the fight, when you would next reveal a non-heal trigger for your 6 damage, you will heal. So, yeah, pretty good. Now, do note it's when it's not a heal trigger, which means your regular heals do have a chance to go along with that, and you can maybe do like a double heal turn, which is pretty sick. So yeah, timing this skill is pretty good though, because the more crits you can put back means that you've probably filtered your deck quite heavily, which means you're going to be critting them a lot more likely, since you also get an extra drive check with this divine skill as well, which is pretty cool. So yeah, definitely playing the extra copies there for Persona Ride, and I'm also playing the 1 Gradale with it as well for the Persona Ride power. Also, you could swap this out for the ladder order, but I believe that's getting a reprint soon, so it shouldn't be as expensive. But yeah, I like this for the Persona Ride power and making those 5 attacks easier to pull off. And then the only other grade 3 I'm playing is, of course, the 2 copies of Masha. This guy gets 15k power whenever you've called a unit from your Rezael skill. Now, note it doesn't have to be him, it's whenever any unit is called. So if you have him on board and then you resurrect something, he'll just get the 15k buff, which is pretty nice. So yeah, 28k baseline or 38 on a Persona Ride turn, pretty damn good. I'm playing 2 at the moment just so I could see it consistently, but honestly, I might end up dropping this down to 1 at some point because even at 2 and I see it at some point, I'm like, I kind of still want to call my grade 2s really because some of them generate me pluses and help rebuild my hand. So yeah, this guy's good for when your opponent is like the 5 damage count, so you can help close games out with the extra power there. But outside of that, it's like, it's just a beat stick. So I might just drop this to 2 in a future build, but we'll see. So that is it for the grade 3s. So we'll go into the grade 2s next. So first of all, we do have the Keta package here with Tearfault. Now I got really fortunate with these. I got them when I built Ezel over a year ago, so they weren't as expensive as they are now. So yay me. However, it does suck for anyone else that wants to get into this deck and they don't have these because they do cost a bit. But there's a reason for it. It's because it's really good. You pair it with the Wisdom Order that lets you draw 2 cards on your grade 2 turn, and then you can call this to then hopefully call a board out and have a pretty good early game. So yeah, you don't have to be waiting that long before you start attacking your opponent and pressuring them a lot. So pretty nice. Also, the fact that it gets 10k for free is pretty good as well, as long as you've got 4 or more units on the field. So it actually gives you a bit more, you know, firepower to work with, so that Rezael has, you know, some decent numbers to be working with its rear guards. So that is also pretty nice as well. Alongside this, we of course have some other generics. Of course, it's Keta. We all have generics here. 3 copies of Biscotti. I actually decided to drop her down to 3 because I wanted to put a 3rd copy of Nilbris in the deck, because I kind of wanted to talk about these 2 together. So both of them cost 3 energy, which is the typical number that you're going to be working with when it comes to energy in this deck. Of course, the Biscotti is pretty simple. You get to draw a card for a Counterblast or an Energy Blast 3 when it's placed on Rhea or your Guardian Circle, which is pretty nice. Helps you, you know, keep your hand size up, and good for discarding for the right deck. And then the Reguard skill basically allows you to look at top 3, and then if it's your main phase, you can call one of them to Rhea, and the other 2 go to the bottom. But if it's the battle phase, the card that you pick goes on top of the deck, and then the other 2 go on bottom. So she can also stack triggers for you, potentially, depending on what order you want to do it in. But yeah, overall, good card. We all know what Biscotti does by now. Now, Nilbris is really sick because he gets 10k power whenever you call him through your Rezael skill. And it's not grid restricted. Like, it only cares about you being a grade 3 Rezael. It doesn't care about what your opponent's at. So if you're going first, the fact that it's a 20k baseline on the Resurrection is really good because it gets over defensive. But outside of that, it's just a really good beat stick. And the second skill being that when you attack with him, at the end of the battle, you Energy Blast 3, put him into your soul, and then you draw a card, and then you look at the top card of your deck, and then put it to the top or the bottom. So it replaces itself, it gives you soul, and it potentially stacks the top of your deck, you know, or, you know, replaces it or whatever. This card's nuts, and yeah, it's why I wanted to go 3-3 split with the Biscotti and the Nilbris, is because I think the power gain of this, the fact that you can do it as early as your turn 3 to pressure the opponent, it makes the multi-attack a bit easier since you're getting like indirect just power gain through its own ability. So that's really cool. And alongside Nilbris, since it does go into the soul, I did want to put in some, a unit that soul blasts, basically, is what I wanted. And now I was torn between Nobia and Cadwalla, basically. But I landed on the Nobia because, well, first of all, I kind of got a bit of a soft spot for her. I think she looks pretty cool. But she is nice in that you can counterblast, look at top 3, call something. So it does have some utility there. But if it's the battle phase, you get to add the card to your hand instead, which is definitely neat for the fact that you could dig for like Persona Rides or Perfect Guards with it, which I think is really cool. So you actually get to select those types of cards with this. Whereas with Cadwalla, it would only really be able to add Persona Rides or like, well, grade 2 or greater units basically. But with this, it's any card. But of course, the downside, it's a CB, so you do have to bear that in mind. But the other utility with her is that her Soul Blast basically gives her an extra 10k power whenever she's attacking, as long as you're at grade 3 and your opponent's at a grade 3 Vanguard. So this basically allows you to get some extra power on the unit whilst you're doing your multi-attacks, and I feel like that's the main reason why I'm liking her more recently, is because she does innately get herself power. She's kind of like a 5th and a 6th copy of the Tearfaults, being that these are units that generate their own power, alongside the Nilbris, of course. So yeah, I've been liking the Nobia a bit more, but by all means experiment. And yeah, the only other grade 2 we have for the grade 2s is, of course, the 4 draw order with the Wisdom of Beginning, which synergizes perfectly with your Tearfaults and is crazy good, because yeah, you draw 2 cards, and then you call 2, as long as it's equal low grades to your Vanguard, which is fine, because most of the things in here are grade 2 and grade 1s, so you're okay there. So yeah, that's it for the grade 2s. I wanted to keep it pretty simple and straightforward, but we might make some changes in the future depending on what Rezael gets later. So we'll see. Now, finally, we have the grade 1s. So, of course, we have the good boy himself with Seragon. Oh, Sergion, however you pronounce his name. Dog. I usually just call him Dog all the time, to be honest. Yeah, the card's crazy. You resurrect this with Rezael, you boost with it. It's a 13k booster, as long as you've got more Rias or you've played an order. And it, yeah, retires itself, look at top 2, add 1 to hand, 1 to bottom. It's great. I feel like this card shines more in this deck, because as long as you've got some sort of an ability to resurrect it, then you can abuse it more. But in other decks, it's still good, because it's just generic, but I feel like with Rezael, it definitely shines more in this deck. So, yeah. But the fact that it's a 13k booster just anywhere, like, it just makes your numbers so much easier to meet for your rear guards. And then next to him, of course, I'm playing the 4 copies of Aerial Sage, another 13k booster for some reason. As long as you're at Rezael, it's only an 8k in the early game, so do bear that in mind. Yeah, when it boosts Rezael, though, you have the option to discard a card from your hand to then countercharge and get another 2000 power, which turns the Rezael swing actually into a 28k rather than 26. I mean, 26 is still good, don't get me wrong, but 28, just that little bit more to get a better number there. But yeah, basically this opens up your CB so that if you're getting damage denied in somewhere, you can just turn a card from your hand into a countercharge, basically. And the other utility with this that I love is the plays that you can do with your Nilbris, because you kind of want this in your drop zone. Well, you're incentivized to get this into your drop zone somewhere so that Rezael can then resurrect it to get that power increase. This is a way to do it. Your Aerial Sage can just discard that, and then you call it back out, and then get its skill off, basically, to get the power. And then that would be the occasions where you need to weigh up when you're using your energy, because of course you would need the Energy Blast 3 to then get this skill off, and then that might conflict with the Biscotti. So you need to weigh it up and then see what resources you have and, you know, go accordingly, basically. So with that, we have the final grade 1 being the Perfect Guard, just sticking with the set 1 PG, just goes with the theme of the deck. And then, of course, we have the Elementaria. My cards want to slip all over the place because I've got new oversleeves on right now. So we're going to quickly move on over to the next section. So yeah, just 4 Perfect Guards, pretty straightforward. And then finally, we have the triggers. So to start with, we have the over trigger. I've been doing blue OT for the time being, just because it's an extra crit, so pretty good. You also get a card back from your drop zone, so you could get like a Persona Ride back, which would be pretty good, in case you haven't seen another one, or maybe a Perfect Guard, if you want to be a bit more defensive. In terms of other options, though, I've definitely seen red OT being used for the 100 million, and you can tack twice with that rear guard, which is pretty good, pretty deadly. I've also seen decks that use the yellow and the purple OT, so by all means, whichever OT you feel like playing, it still might be good, because Rezael is just that straightforward. The only one that I probably wouldn't try is purple, because I feel like it has a little bit of awkwardness in terms of, like, you would call, you would do your 5 attacks, you would, like, call the units back, and then the purple OT triggers to then call something else, which you would lose out an attack anyway, so it's like, it's a little bit awkward there, but yeah, I'm just doing blue because it's an extra crit, and it gets something back from the drop, which is nice. So, yeah. But outside of this, I'd probably try red as well, so give that a try. Alright, and then for the rest of the triggers, we are doing the 8 crit, 4 of the skill crit, and 4 of the vanilla crit. These do actually matter, because you can call a grade 0 with Rezael, technically. If you're at 1 damage, you can call a grade 1 and a grade 0. So you can still call these. So the skill crit could matter sometimes, depends, but the vanilla is also good as well, because the 5k base can sometimes make better numbers. Like, if you have a dog on your field, boosting for 13, a 5k is going to be better for an 18k swing. So yeah, so do take that in mind. And then last but not least, we do have the 3 front triggers. Yeah, this deck does not struggle with draw power. I feel like draws are just like, you're asking the deck out at that point, but, you know, if they work for you, they work for you, but I've been liking the front because it's extra power, and that 20k shield defensively is just really nice as well. So yeah. And then last but not least, we do have, of course, the 4 heal triggers. Yeah, just sticking with the vanilla ones. They work just fine. You could put some skill ones in if you want to, but this is what I'm going with at the moment. So yeah, that's it for the deck. But yeah, overall, it's pretty fun. I've been enjoying it. It's definitely different though, because even though the deck fundamentally is like quite simple overall, it actually rewards you pretty well with like how you're setting up your drop zone for Rezael to then resurrect stuff back, but then also how you're managing your resources as well. So you actually got to put a little bit of thought into it. It's not just unga bunga keta, but at the same time, it also kind of is. So yeah, you'll have a good time with this deck if you're able to pick it up. But yeah, understandably, this deck is rather expensive, so I don't blame you if you don't pick it up. But yeah, if you do have the cards, if you are a Keta follower and you have got the stuff for it, do try build it and have a good time with it, hopefully. So yeah, that's it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed. Look forward to some more videos on the channel, because with set 3 coming out, there's actually a few decks that I'm actually looking forward to upgrading and building. So hopefully I can get those sorted and have some more videos for you. So yeah, anyway, that's it for me. This is Guardian, signing out.